Hello, and welcome back to the League of Europe podcast for I guess this is episode number 2 of the interviews with the drivers. And I'm glad to say, like last week, I'm not alone. I've got Dan, or otherwise known as Dak. If you want to give a quick hello.
Hello there, everyone. Great to be here for a second week running, and yeah, very excited to take you through it yet again. Last week's podcast went well. I'm sure this one is going to be fantastic for you guys to watch as well. Stay in it. This should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, like you said, we had Mark on the podcast last week, which was a great insight to basically what we were saying, just like him as an org and stuff like that. But this week we've got another co-commentator, well, not co-commentator, like another commentator to go alongside Dan. So yeah, without further ado, we got Carmentalist. How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, not too
not
bad. I mean, as good as it can be.
Could be better, could be worse.
Yeah. But yeah, great to have you on. You're a commentator, obviously, in LOE and again racing this season. But yeah, just gonna get straight into it. Obviously, now you set up your own website, the Cool Down Lap, which of course, if anyone hasn't gone and checked it out, you should definitely check it out. But yeah, in this website you cover everything in motorsport, not just F1. So you got Rallycross, Indy, NASCAR, literally everything motorsport related. So I'm just wondering, where did the love for motorsport come? Not just F1, but like in general. You seem to have a big knowledge of motorsports. Like, where does that come from?
I think my love for motorsport probably comes from my dad, actually. My dad has loved everything motorsport since he was a kid, and then my family beyond that have loved it as well. So it kind of stems from there. I think the first time I really got into motorsport was the World Rally Championship. It was 2003, so I was 4 at the time. It was the first time I ever went to see motorsport in the flesh. I went to the Cardiff Super Special stage for the World Rally Championship that year, and cried like a baby because it was -5 degrees and there were so many people there, and I was terrified. But I somehow got convinced to go back the next year. So, but I've been there to that every year since, and then since then, my love for motorsport has kind of just stemmed out of that. So I always used to be a World Rally fan, and then I thought, oh, what other motorsports are there in the world? So I just started having a look around, really, and then it just became my life.
But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, that's absolutely that's fantastic, and to hear, obviously, you getting into it. Having spoke to you, you're probably one of the most knowledgeable people when it comes to motorsport I've ever spoke to. But of course, as we alluded to earlier at the start of this, you of course commentate, including for League of Europe. But what made you get into commentary? I'm quite excited to hear this, actually. So, like, what kind of made you have a look at it and decide to dive into doing comms for a variety of different leagues?
That's a good one, actually. I can't really pin down the first time I really got into commentary, but I've always had, probably since secondary school, I've always had a love for just writing and talking about motorsport. So any way that I could do that, I would just want to do it. And I remember when I was a younger kid, I would like play with toy cars or whatever, and then I would do like my own little commentary over me playing with my cars. Looked like an absolute lunatic, and I think my parents probably thought that there was something clinically wrong with me, but I just loved talking about motorsport and cars whatever way I could. So when I started like watching Formula One and proper live sport and hearing the commentators, I always thought that is something that I adore, and I would always love to do something like that. And then when I came around to league racing, I thought, well, this is an opportunity for me to actually try and do something like that. So that's how I kind of got into commentary, and I just do it for the love of just talking about motorsport and just love doing it. Yeah.
Brilliant.
But yeah,
I can actually relate to your toy car story. I can't lie.
I think most people can, to be honest. But But
Go on,
yeah,
Gary.
like you were saying, you got a love for motorsport. Like you enjoy commentating and stuff like that. It's like in the real world, is that something you're looking to do? Is that something you're interested in doing? Maybe journalism, commentary, or are you looking on a different path in the future?
I was, if the opportunity arose, I would absolutely love to do it. I know you're the same, Dan. I know you would absolutely love to do commentary in real life, and I think any way into motorsport for me, I would gladly take it. But I know that being a commentator or being a full-time journalist for Formula One or whatever is very difficult to get into. So I've got myself like a contingency plan. I in my day-to-day basis, when I finally get a job again, I do like marketing and stuff like that. So that kind of creative side of things. So that's kind of another passion of mine. So I do that as a job, and then if I can take that knowledge and then my writing knowledge and my commentary stuff into the world of motorsport, then that is my dream. So I have a basic job kind of thing that I focus on, and then if it can move into the motorsport world, then I would absolutely love to do it.
Yeah, that's I can definitely sympathise with that. I'm excited to see maybe you could stretch into that. Moving back towards commentary though, you've been doing it for a little while now, but I'm not actually sure how long it is. So how long have you actually been commentating for?
Oh, so the first commentary thing I ever did was for FRL. Must have been Fantasy Racing League. Oh God, when was that? It must have been mid 2019. Must have been my first ever commentary thing, because it was when the 2019 game came out, and I commentated over F3 at the time, and I raced in F1. Somehow I got placed in the top tier, but I was racing in F1 and commentating on F3, and that was my first commentary thing. And then from there, got pressured into joining League of Europe. I mean, I never wanted to.
We never wanted you to join anyway.
No,
we never wanted you, mate. Don't worry.
I mean, yeah. Well, this is me announcing I'm resigning from. No,
thank God.
It's about time.
We get Verstappen back.
I know I've taken his job. That man, he's going to hate me for life. But I started out in that league, and then got suggested to join League of Europe. So I joined League of Europe as a driver, and then when a commentary slot opened up, I thought, why not? I've done it before, so I may as well do it again. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, brilliant. And also, to go with that, still on commentary, what is the best and worst things about it? And I'm very intrigued to hear what you have to say about this.
Oh, worst, working with QVR Dakar. Absolutely terrible.
Yep.
Absolutely hate it. I think probably best part about commentary is, I don't know, I think I just get really excited, like, getting ready for a race and seeing what actually is going to come of it, and being part of like that championship journey, like watching the drivers battle with each other and seeing how the season develops, just being a part of a championship like that and watching drivers grow and things like that. I absolutely adore that. And I adore taking on like new challenges as well. So when a new commentary thing comes along, so like the Masters League that both you and I do, or something like that, when that comes along, that really excites me. I love doing that. Worst part of it is, probably this game, because it's a pain in the arse. But other than that, probably going to a race knowing you're going to have a low attendance, and then just basically scared that it's going to be an absolutely terrible race, like turning up to a race and there's only 10 drivers in it, and you know the field spread is big at that point anyway, and just sitting there not having a lot to talk about. That's probably the worst part of it, but that's all just about trying to adapt to the situation and trying to find talking points. So if you've got a good co-coms, then it's good to just have conversations and bounce off of each other while there's a race happening in the background.
Well, lucky we don't have to worry about having low numbers in League of Europe anyway, do we?
Yes.
Unlike a certain league out there, which I will not name. But yeah, in League of Europe, obviously we've got loads and loads of I'd say like I think we probably have some of the best commentators in the community. But of course, there may be one or two, maybe not in League of Europe, but like in the past, maybe that you never got along with. So like, who would be the worst person you've ever commentated it with, and why is it done?
Wow.
You're trying to. Oh my god, you're trying to get me into some like Twitter drama or whatever.
So
We
that
need the
part,
clicks.
go on.
We need the clicks.
Clickbait, yeah. The
Yeah,
title
it's a
of this-
clickbait
this
title.
pod-
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
The title is who is Carmentalist's least favourite person in the F1 community.
yeah.
It's gonna bang views, no doubt.
I know. I am going to actually try and answer this question though. Worst person I've
Oh,
commentated
yes.
with. I'm not going to be diplomatic and say every commentator I've worked with has been great, because it's not the case. Worst person I've probably.
I'm really nervous right now.
I'm going to ruin League of Europe's reputation. Worst person I've commentated with. Oh god, it's difficult. There was a guy back in the day. Probably the most difficult person to like actually commentate with was someone that I used to co-coms with for FRL called O Steven. I commentated with him a couple of times. I got on with him on a personal level really nicely. He was a really nice guy, but he, as soon as we started live streaming, just kind of shat a brick and didn't talk. So it gets difficult when your co-coms or the main comms or whatever just gets nervous and then just decides not to talk. So that's probably the worst kind of experience I've had with co-coms before. But the majority of times it's really good.
Yeah, that's not the clickbait I wanted, to be honest, man. Can we just?
Yeah,
can
so
you just
Kvyat Daka, I mean, that guy, the fact that he won Best Commentator in League of Europe 2 seasons in a row, I think it's rigged at this point.
Oh, it's. I've seen him say he's got about 10 alt accounts that he's
I actually
yeah,
said
for himself.
30.
30. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, before he left QVR, every single person in QVR is actually just one of Daka's alt accounts.
Literally. Yeah, obviously used to banter a lot with each other, and you are absolutely amazing commentating with each other. So like you do F2 and you do D2 together. Like it's really difficult as commentators to like be able to bounce off each other. Like, but you seem to be doing it really, really easy. Like, what do you think that's down to? Like, how come you get on so well when you're commentating?
I think it's because I think me and Dan just get on really well. I think we get on a personal level quite well, and we're pretty good friends. Just outside of League of Europe in general, just sitting in parties and just having conversations all the time. I think we get on quite well. Whereas a lot of times commentators only talk for commentary and then don't talk outside of that. So I think we just kind of understand each other quite well. And then I think because our commentary style isn't necessarily we're going to go into a commentary thinking I want as much airtime as I possibly can. We're just both going in just for the love of it, really.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we bounce off of each other well, because it's not a power struggle between us two. Like, if something is coming up in a race that's I'm commentating over something else and then something else pops up, Dan will just jump into it, and I know that Dan has the confidence and the skill to do that, and I think he has the same opinion about me. And we just do it for the love of it, and it's not like a power struggle to see who can get the most words out. So I think that's why we bounce off each other really well.
Yeah, I agree, and I'd like to point out, of all the commentators that I've commentated with, I have liked every single one of them as a person.
Sure, you have.
People, but there. hey. But the two people that I have got on the best outside of the track were you and Verstappen, and it's no coincidence that they're the two comms that I've worked the best with, in my opinion. It's like if you have an existing relationship outside of your profession, it's not really a profession, but you know, it helps your performance inside it, and that's why I think for like D2, for example, it's worked really well the last few seasons. If you get along with your co-commentator, then you can just bounce off each other much more naturally than if, as you said, if you just don't talk outside of doing comps together.
Yeah, I fully agree, and the fact that as well that because we know each other quite well, we know where our skills are, and we know like good conversation topics as well to talk about, and we have a good knowledge of motorsport, so we know that we can ask each other some really odd and random questions or make some odd statements, but we know that each other's going to be able to reciprocate it quite well. So I think that's what makes it good fun to watch as well, because I think sometimes when you watch a commentary it's a little bit stale and they're commentating over what's happening in the race, but then when nothing's happening they're not really doing anything. I think that's when it gets a bit stale. So I think we're good at filling the time. I mean, when that bloody what was it, Esports Masters League Baku,
Yeah.
how many times did that restart? Was that three times?
3 times, yeah, 3 times, yeah.
Yeah, that was what, like a 30-minute delay or something, and somehow we managed to fill the time. But I think that's the moments where I think it really shows that we work well together.
Yeah, I think you two are just amazing together. Like, I've only just like delved into commentary a little bit, and like if I got anywhere near to you guys, I'll be happy, because used to, I always love watching back the races that you commentate over. So hopefully you stick in LOE for a little bit longer and don't start demanding money off us or anything like that. But
you've revealed what I was gonna. Oh my god! Well, my pants.
The only reason I'm still here, mate.
maybe one day. But just like to delve away a little bit from F1 for a minute. You were league racing in general. You were saying that you did marketing in real world, obviously before coronavirus and all this shit happened. Is that something you studied, or you're studying, or is like, were you working in a place, and like what made you think, I want to do marketing? Marketing's the thing for me.
So when I was at school, my whole plan was to go to the University of Salford and do broadcast journalism. That was my plan. I was dead set on that plan from the start of secondary school. That was what I was going to do. And then I got to my A-levels, and I was an absolute moron when choosing my A-levels. So I decided, well, where I went to school for my A-levels, you either had to have a focus in engineering or business and travel and tourism. That had to be like your main focus. But because I was such a teacher's pet, I said I don't want to do either of those, and they were fine with it. So I just was able to pick whatever A-levels I wanted to. So in the end, I decided to pick 4 A-levels because I am a moron. So I picked English language and literature. I picked chemistry, physics, and maths, which is a lot to do. And I very quickly realised that I didn't want to do physics. I very quickly realised that it wasn't something that I wanted to do. So I kind of had a sit down with one of the deputy heads of the school and said, this isn't what I want to do. I want to try and do something a little bit more creative and a little bit more coursework focused. Can you suggest anything? So they suggested media, and I'd never done it before. And I think media is one of those subjects at school where it's kind of looked down upon. It's just like people think of it as like an easy subject. Mm-hmm. And it is somewhat easier in the way that it's run, but I think it's a great thing to do if you're like that creative mindset and you don't necessarily want to do something like art or drama or whatever. I think it's a good creative outlet. So I kind of use that as like a creative outlet. And one of my projects was to create a 5-minute short horror film, and as part of the horror film you had to do like marketing material on the side, and that whole process of making the marketing material and then doing the film and everything, I just absolutely adored it.
Was that film your D2 season?
I mean, I wouldn't say my D2 season was a horror show. We won't talk about, D2 last season, yeah. D2 before that was fine. D2, I forgot I was even in D2 last season. That's bad. That horror film, though, that was on my Carmentalist YouTube channel, but I very quickly deleted that before I realised that I was starting to stream on there, so you cannot find it anymore.
Damn it.
But, I know, but I absolutely loved doing that whole process, so I thought I need to go into something that's like a mix of the two, so the mix of the journalism kind of thing and the creative aspect, and marketing is that perfect mix. So that's what I wanted to do. So I found an apprenticeship in that and just went from there, really.
You need to send me that video, please.
Yeah, we get just please. Yeah, you need to see that. We need to see that.
I'd have to give you an NDA when I send you that because you ain't sharing it with nobody. It was rough. I somehow got a B grade in it, but it was rough.
Only a B.
I know, shockingly bad. We won't talk about my chemistry grade. I've completely flunked chemistry.
Relatable. Keeping on that topic, well, sort of. Obviously, you've just started your that kind of basis of skills that helped you in creating your website, the Cooldown Lap. But what would you say? What was the inspiration for you starting off on that? Why did you decide to kick it off? Because it is brilliant. I will
it
say
is.
that.
It is. Yeah.
But what kickstarted your motivation to start working towards that website?
Well, firstly, thank you very much. I should try and toot my own horn a little bit too much, but I think the kind of basis of it is, like I said a couple of times, that I have a love for journalism and I've had a love for motorsport, so it kind of just made sense to merge the two. And I'd always wanted to do like some sort of blog. I wanted to do like a simple blog where I could write things when I was at school, but I was just quite lazy at the time, and I was also quite. I'm going to go a little bit serious here, but I was quite at school quite self-deprecating. Is that the right word? Self-deprecating. Anyway, who cares? I was quite critical of myself when I was at school, so I would think about something I want to do, and then I'd think about all the things that went wrong that could go wrong with it, and then I wouldn't do it. So I kind of had to tune myself out of that mindset, and then 2020 was such a shit year. It was, oh my god, so bad. But obviously I got, as a lot of you guys will know, I obviously don't have a job at the moment. I had a job up until, well, I was furloughed in March, and then I lost the job in August, and then since then it's been just days and days of sending out applications, doing interviews, and then not getting the jobs. So I thought I needed to just do something to keep me ticking and keep my creative juices flowing, and get me actually to do something and not just sit around all day and do nothing and wallow in my own self-pity. So I decided it's finally time to actually do something with that and tune myself out of that mindset of thinking it's going to go wrong. So I just sat down and played around and did it, and it's actually worked out really well. So that's kind of how it came about. It's always something I wanted to do and never really had the confidence to do it, and it was kind of just a thing to keep me going over 2020. So yeah, that's how it came about.
And what's the aim with the like? How far do you think you can take? Like, obviously you've only started, but like, is there like a long-term goal with it, or are you just gonna keep banging out the content for as long as you can and just see what happens?
I think yes. I think the second part, it's more just kind of a creative outlet for me. I love writing and things like that, so I'm just gonna write and post, and then write and post, and write and post, and just, if something comes of it, that would be amazing. If something happened from it, that would be a dream come true. But if it doesn't, I still love it with all my heart, and it's still something that I love to do. So I'm just going to keep churning it out. And this week I'm taking like a little bit of a couple of days break from staring at my laptop because I'm getting square eyes. But I've already got like 6 or 7 posts planned to write for the end of the week, ready for next week. So I'm going to keep going, and there's going to be regular content on it. And if something comes of it, then absolutely amazing. But if not, I'm still going to keep doing it no matter what.
Yeah, and just on the process that it took to actually make it up and put it all together, because I know you were working on it for at least 2 months, I think, around about that length of time. What was it like trying to stay motivated and keep pushing towards that goal? It's something that, for me, I've had trouble staying motivated to a lot of my goals that I want to achieve. So what was that like, keeping at it, just kind of almost chasing a dream in a way? And did you ever find it tough to keep working towards that goal?
Some days I found it tough, just because it felt like a lot of work. Like, I think a lot of people think when it comes to like a blog, you just like buy a template, buy the website, and then you just write and post it, and that's that done. But I could have done that, but I wanted it to be something that looked pretty as well as read well. So I actually bought the website domain in September, so I've officially had the website for 4 months now, and I've been working on it ever since. And I think what helped me kept me motivated is that I set a date for it to be launched as soon as I bought the domain. So I knew it was going to come out on the 16th of January as soon as I bought the website domain. So I was like, no matter, I've got to get it done by then. Like, it has to be ready for then, and I can't go back on my promise and say it's delayed or whatever. It has to be done by then. So I kind of just set myself like bi-weekly goals of what needed to be done by this amount of time and all that stuff. And that's kind of what kept me motivated, is that I'd announced it, I said what it was going to be, my family all knew when it was going to be, my closest friends all knew when it was going to come out, so I couldn't just go back on my promise. It was a promise that I'd made to them and to myself, so I couldn't go back on it. So I was just hard, dedicated work from there, knowing that I have to meet that target. So that's probably what kept me motivated, along with the fact that my family and my close friends were really, really supportive of it, and really happy that I was finally doing something and not just sitting around doing nothing. So that's definitely what kept me motivated.
Well, fair play to you, because it's honestly, if anyone hadn't seen it, it's really like the content is just unreal. It's like you cover everything. Like, you show your knowledge. You have serious knowledge about motorsport, not just F1. So like, fair dues, and hopefully it goes well for you. But just to come back to the motorsport aspect. So like, you are, I think, you're a really, really big fan of rallycross. Of course, you organised it.
Be careful with the disciplines there, Gary.
Oh, mate, I'm not even going to pretend I know what I'm talking about right now, okay? Rallycross, whatever the other one is. What's the other one?
I'm not going to say a word.
Okay. But anyway, okay. You helped do the dirt. You organised the dirt rally championship, or whatever. I can't remember what it's called. I'm so bad at it. I'm sorry. But is rally higher? Like, would you be more interested in the rally and that sort of motorsport compared to like F1? It's like, because I see you are really passionate about that. I think from the outside, it looks like you're more passionate about it than F1. Is that the case? It's like, do you prefer that over F1?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. World Rally Championship is probably
there we go. Yep.
WRC. Yeah, Rallycross. I do love Rallycross. I absolutely love Rallycross. I think it's great. But the World Rally Championship is something that has been just a part of my life. It's one of my earliest childhood memories is going to Cardiff and seeing that live, and I've just had such a love for that sport. And I think no matter what anyone says, rally drivers are the best racing drivers in the world, hands down, point blank, period, end of sentence. Like, no one can top them. I think Formula One is absolutely great, and it's the pinnacle of engineering, and I watch it religiously. I love it, but there's just something about the WRC that is so interesting to me, watching those drivers go through stages that are just wide enough to fit these humongous WRC cars they've got at this moment at 200 kilometers an hour, reading these pace notes, focusing on every minute detail of the road, and it's just so fascinating to watch. And I've watched it ever since I was like 4 years old, so I've just had such a love for it ever since I was a kid, and it is and will remain probably my favorite motorsport in the world.
I'm interested in your point, because I think a lot of people in LOE maybe aren't quite as familiar with rallying, and because I remember when I was a kid, I was obsessed with F1 and no other motorsport. But when my stepfather, he said to me one day, if rally drivers are way more talented than F1 drivers, I'm like, eh? And then he showed me some footage of like Colin McRae or someone. I'm like, my mind was simply blown. Like the amount of precision, the amount of just balls these guys have.
Yeah, oh my god.
It's spectacular. It's I wish I was more invested in it. I don't follow it that closely, but I have an enormous amount of respect for the drivers and everyone involved. It looks like a fantastic spectacle, fantastic sport, and just a very pure form of motorsport. So yeah, I'd like to get more into it actually, because it looks absolutely fabulous.
Well, if you'd like to get more into it, I would like to say that the first rally of the 2021 season is this weekend. So have a look at that. It's Rally Monte Carlo, one of the most iconic rallies in the world. So have a look at that. It is absolutely incredible. And yeah, watching WRC live, there's nothing compares to watching the WRC live. Like, to other people, it probably sounds like their worst nightmare, like standing in the middle of a Welsh forest in the middle of November when it's raining, sometimes snowing, it's muddy. There's no one else around you for 5 miles. It's deadly silent. It sounds like a horror film, but standing there in the forest, hearing the cars coming from miles away, actually feeling the ground rumble as they come to you, and then watching them come through the woods, at such lightning speed with so much confidence, and the noise and everything, nothing compares to it for me, and it is just absolutely incredible. And then I think people think that rallying stops at the WRC, but rallying happens everywhere all the time. Rallying is the biggest motorsport on the planet. It is everywhere constantly. It never stops. There's rallies anywhere you can go. So if you want to go to like a circuit, they do British circuit rallying in this country. So I've been to Donington and watched a circuit rally. That's amazing. Monza in Italy, they had a World Rally Championship event at Monza last year. That was by far the best rally of the year. And it's so much happens that you don't have to watch it on like this massive WRC level. Like, you can literally just walk into the middle of the woods when there's a rally on, not have to pay a ticket, and you'll just pop out on the stage and you can watch these cars go past at lightning speed. And it kind of irritates me that not enough people watch it, because it is so incredible to watch. It's such a spectacle, and it's nothing compares to it for me.
They should get you up as an ambassador.
I mean, I was going to say.
I know. I'm going to send this to all the people that work at the WRC and be like, employ me, please.
Give me a job. But yeah, you mentioned there like your first memory of motorsport was when you were 4 in Cardiff. What was your first Formula 1 memory, and like what got you hooked to F1?
So the first ever Formula 1 race I watched live was the 2006 Italian Grand Prix. And I'm not going to lie, that Grand Prix was a little bit boring, so I wasn't that keen focused on it.
Yeah.
So I watched that Grand Prix, and then I didn't watch another Grand Prix of the 2006 season. And then I decided out of nowhere just to watch the 2007 Australian Grand Prix, the first race of the season. And I fell in love with Kimi Räikkönen almost immediately. And that was kind of my pathway in. I wasn't necessarily in love with Formula 1. I just loved everything about Kimi Räikkönen, and I just watched Kimi Räikkönen interviews, and my dad was telling me about Kimi Räikkönen and all this stuff, and I just loved him. So he was like, I supported him massively. I still do to this day. The fact he's still in Formula 1 is insane but amazing. And yeah, I just fell in love with Kimi Räikkönen, and that's the only reason I initially started watching Formula 1, is because I loved him so much. And then come to probably 2009, when the new regulations came in, I then started to really love Formula 1 for just Formula 1, because the field got so much closer. Everything was a lot more unpredictable when the new regulations came out. And then I really started to love Formula 1 for what it was.
So for your first 2 years of watching the sport, you were basically what we describe as a DTS stand today.
I was, yes. I was the equivalent of a Lando Norris fan today.
It's all because Kimi was doing rallying, man. That's it. That's the only reason. I
mean, when Kimi Räikkönen and Robert Kubica ended up in the World Rally Championship, my jaw dropped. I absolutely, mind you, Kimi Räikkönen was absolute shit, and so was Kubica. I mean, they crashed all the time, but it was great.
Yeah, I think something tells me Kubica regrets doing it. Can't lie.
Probably. I would if I was him.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Dan, you got another question? Do you want to ask, or?
I think I think the runtime's been all right. We can, I guess we'll move on to our classic final question that we asked Mark last time. We're going to carry on with this. Which F1 era would you want to race in, and why?
Oh God!
He's taking longer than Mark, so like this is a good sign.
Yeah, Mark was almost instant.
Yeah.
What did Mark say for his?
Mark said
mid-70s.
He said he could win a championship in the 70s.
Oh, back when he was in his 20s, then. Okay. When would I want to race in Formula 1? I think probably a time that seemed like a great time to drive Formula 1 cars was I think just for the look of the Formula 1 cars, and they're the cars that I'd want to drive, probably the early 2000s. I think the first Formula 1 car I ever looked at, like before the 2006 Italian Grand Prix, the first ever Formula 1 car I saw was that 2000 Jordan. And that 2000 Jordan was a stunning car. I absolutely loved that in the yellow and the livery that it had. And those cars, to me, I think the best looking Formula 1 cars of all time. So I'd probably want to race in that era.
I get that. And Would you? Because obviously Mark said 70s was quite a weak era. I reckon. I back myself. Would you back yourself for a championship against Michael Schumacher?
Against a prime Schumacher.
Oh my god. He said the 70s was a weak era for Formula One.
He said he beat Niki Lauda in a championship.
Oh my god, that man. Sheesh. Why was he your first guest on this? Anyway, the 70s was a weak era. My god. Yeah, I wouldn't have beaten Schumacher. I probably would have been the who was really bad then? Robert Dornbos. Was he there at that time? No, he was a little bit later. I can't even remember.
You being the con boot, let's be real, you wouldn't even be on the grid.
I mean, yeah, probably.
Even then, you probably wouldn't make the con boot.
No, I know. I would have been the equivalent of like today's Karun
Channel 4. You would have been the equivalent of Channel 4 today.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah. I'd be the Susie Perry of the 2000s.
Oh my god. But yeah, I think that rounds off the podcast. Oh, just one quick thing. I noticed that you didn't use your catchphrase absolutely there, and I'm quite disappointed. Quite disappointed.
I knew you were going to talk about this.
I'm quite disappointed it didn't come up.
Oh, I knew it was going to come up at some point. I mean, I've been trying since Dan pointed that out, I've been trying so hard not to use that word.
I think commentators just in general have a catchphrase that they use a lot.
I don't think I do.
Oh, you do. What's your one?
Definitely.
You have one, Dan. I always say it. I can't remember it now.
See?
Hello, one and all. You say that, well, that's not really a catchphrase, but the other one is
an intro.
That's an intro. Yes, but you say it all the time. And the other one's like you just say down the inside. He says that a lot. A bit like
I think
Crofty.
his catchphrase is probably just screaming at the top of his lungs. His catchphrase.
I don't know how this lad still has a voice. To be honest, it's mental.
D2 this season, me and Dan are going to die. We're both going to pass out midway through the race.
The pre-season race, if the pre-season race ain't anything to go by, then definitely.
Oh my god, that pre-season race was utter insanity.
Imagine with points on the on offer for that race would be mental. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure, great insight, and hopefully the cool down lap continues to gain momentum in the coming weeks and months and however long you do it. But yeah, it's been a pleasure having you on, so thank you.
Thank you very much. And if anyone wants to write anything for the cooldown lap or anything like that, just send me a message. I'm open to anyone. I've got a few people that already said they want to do stuff, so if anyone wants to write anything for it, then send me a message.
Cool stuff. And Dan, you got anything else you'd like to say before we end?
Absolutely. It's been an absolute...
Yeah, I was going to say that. If you didn't say that, I was going to to say that.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, Aiden. I've absolutely loved it.
God. Can I quit being a D2 co-coms now? I think me and Dan are not going to get
gladly. Go on.
I'd rather have get Verstappen back. Thank God.
Yes, finally.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, man. And till next time, see yous.